Got to cover them nuts.
I'm just putting my leg over, doing the
This will
crossover.
be the intro. Uh,
Welcome everybody to Chris's Nuts.
no, it's not just,
This
it's,
episode.
it's our nuts are in it together. Um, and we're back. Episode wife or bust. Yep.
Nope,
Every
that wasn't
episode's wife or bust. Episode 9 of Wife or Bust. I'm here with Joel per the usual. If you haven't been with us before, Joel is on his journey to find a wife. And predominantly, we've been using Hinge, but there's some nuance to that. So last time we talked about how Joel was in Reno, his hometown, but he lives here in Austin. And we talked a little bit about dating while you're traveling, pros and cons, and what happened when he got back. So you've been back. Last time, you had only been on one date since you got back in Austin.
Yeah.
And that was 3 weeks ago now, I think. 2 or 3.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
What's happened since then? Give us a general update, and then we'll dive into some of those details.
Yeah. I had some more travel. I went to go get my truck from Reno, and so I've been traveling, different things that I've been managing with business, and so my attention hasn't been huge on Hinge, and there's been some other women that have caught my attention, and I've invested some time into that didn't come from Hinge. And I know last episode I did a call out, and still do. If there's anybody that you know that you feel that would be a good fit, send them my way. And one of those was a friend in Australia who sent his friend sent her my way, and we chatted while she traveled through Italy, and now she's back in Australia. And we've had some really, really good conversations, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know her. The international side of needing to use WhatsApp compared to iMessage, and if you're going to call, you got to, FaceTime audio or FaceTime video. And so that's a little bit of a different challenge, but it's been really fun getting to know her, and I love an Australian accent as well.
The country crush. It's like Candy Crush, but better.
The country.
Yeah, the country crush.
The country
It doesn't mean
crush.
just a country girl, although those aren't bad either.
Those are great.
Yeah. I remember as you were saying that, one of the big things we talked about last episode was you were feeling a little, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but you're like, okay, I got a lot of responsibilities. I want to do these things well.
Yeah.
I need to maybe funnel down the amount of conversations I'm allowing myself to have
Right.
with women that I would want to take on a date. And I think you said you wanted to whittle it down to, what was it, 3 was the number that you wanted to shoot for? So
Yeah, talking to at one time.
And now, is that specifically on the app, or is that in general?
Yeah, well, now it's shifting a little bit, because now I'm recognizing, like, oh, that was specifically just on the app, but I'm meeting women outside of the app. And so now that also diverts my energy and my focus. And so now I'm realizing, like, oh, wow, okay. There's this like balance of, like, of course, like, oh, I want options, but also as we've gone through this entire thing, and we'll continue to go through this entire experiment, which is dating with integrity. And there's this part of, well, just because selfishly I want as many options, what that happens is if somebody else comes out and go, wow, I really have an interest in you, but I have 7 different options. They're focused on me. I'm not fully focused on them. And it's not that they're not great or not beautiful. It's just when you have that many options, your energy is dispersed, and maybe the timing isn't right, and you try to reach out and they don't reach back out, and and it kind of gets pulled away. And so what I'm realizing is being able to go, okay, how do I manage this both within the app and outside of the app? And what does that look like? I this is all relatively new for me.
There's a lot of typical problem solving that you kind of just covered with that. What I mean by that is the modern world comes with optionality. And you would think that would be a good thing, because ideally you can find someone and explore getting to know them that might better suit your needs than if you had fewer options, logically. but there's a trade-off with everything. And so you kind of hit on it. The trade-off is like, well, I really want to be intentional, and I have limited time, and they have limited time. And they might be interested in you, but they probably also have lots of options. So you both are getting inundated with options in different ways. And because like we've talked about, men typically throw a lot of approaches or opportunities or really proffer a lot of dates and conversations with women. They're really taking the initiative. But then women are inundated by inbounds. But either way, you both end up with a lot of potential characters to go on a date, or rather opportunities to go on a date. And this is the age-old question. I don't have an answer for you. Like, I have a big fat I don't know of what is the right volume. And we talked about last time, depending on the season of life, you might have more or less capacity. But then I also do wonder too, if because we're men and maybe some women out there too, you want to be like, okay, this is my equation, and this is how I make sure I don't spread myself too thin, and I still date with integrity, and I still have my quality of presence preserved. But I don't know if it works like that. I think it just ebbs and flows from day to day, week to week. So even a few weeks ago, you're like, no, I think this number is right. And I think that was right for you at that time. But now I wonder, it's like, okay, we have this Australian interest, meeting some women in real life.
Yeah.
And you have the app. And as long as you don't feel overwhelmed and you feel like you're really open to getting to know each of these people, I don't think that's too many. But then the second that you start to feel like your presence or your attention slipping, that's probably when you need to shrink that down. And again, I think even if your life is fairly consistent, that might shift from day to day, week to week, especially month to month. Yeah. But those are my general thoughts on that. So do you think, because you're really enjoying getting to, let's call her the Aussie, because you're really getting to know the Aussie.
Awesome Aussie.
Is that taking away maybe from how open you are to getting to know some of these other people, whether that's in real life or on the app that you've connected with?
Yeah, like our conversations have been very consistent. So daily conversations, daily interactions, we're getting to know each other a little bit more, sending video messages and audio messages. And she just has such a light and beautiful heart. You know, I got to know her while she was traveling. So of course, while you're traveling, you're on, cloud nine. And now that she's gotten back home, she's had a little bit more of like kind of like a what's the word for it?
Like mellow.
Yeah, like you're having to readjust from this like travel, right? And she's been really, really transparent and honest on like her emotions and her feelings and what she's going through and how she's feeling, how she feels with life. And we actually even talked about like kids and what do kids look like in your life. And she explained, where she stands with that. And there's a lot of different things that I'm like, man, that it's just really easy to talk to her. And one of the things that I didn't consider, and nor have I talked to her about, is God.
Wait, you haven't?
I haven't. It's not something I realized that.
That surprises me. Because as we've talked about in past episodes, like that's your number one thing.
That's correct.
But it's okay if it comes up organically. Like it doesn't mean you have to lead with it off the bat. Yeah. But that's very surprising based off the other interactions we've talked about.
Well, yeah, I've been so used to on Hinge, it's just like basically like Christian. Like that makes it really easy. The other night I took Connor through, hey, this is how I basically scan through each potential person. And it's going, taking a look at the very first picture and going like, do I find them attractive to it? Is there an initial pull? Yes. Okay. I'm going to continue to scroll down. Then I scroll down and I go, okay, let me take a look at their age, and let me take a look at, do they have kids? Do they want to have kids? If they say that they don't want to have kids, it's an immediate no. I want to have kids. Even if it's like, I'm open to, I've found that, and this is just past experiences with me, with the woman that I dated back in 2020. She had 2 kids and she was like, yeah, I'm open to having kids. But then when it came down to it, she was like, I don't really want to have kids again. Like I had my kids. And so I've really recognized like, and I do feel talking to a few other women who have kids, that they're like, well, I know that there's like a man's going to want to have kids. So I kind of put that up there to be able to go like, yeah, I'm open to it, but if you really just ask me, it would be a no.
It's like the guys who put that they don't drink or that they're like 3 inches taller than they are.
Yes.
It's like because they know that they're automatically going to get filtered out. So women do that. It's probably similar things that guys is important to men. Yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
And so that filtration process you don't have in real life, right? I don't see that it's Christian. And then even if I see that they're Christian, then I go through their prompts and see, well, are they talking about God in their prompts? So that's another thing that I go through and take a look at. And with her, it was just, here's this basically referral, from a good friend. And so we haven't had that conversation quite yet. And then, it's really fun. And, she's an incredible woman and she lives in Australia. Like you think about anything's possible, of course. And I'm like, well, there's one thing of like, you live in, Georgia or even Nevada.
Yeah.
Like I can get a direct flight from Austin to Nevada.
It's hard to get further than she is from where you are.
It's a 16-hour flight from LA, not from Austin.
Yeah.
It's one of the farther flights that I've ever taken. And so it's quite interesting to play that through my mind because, again, at this point in my life, it was funny the other day, us meeting up and we were talking and Connor was like, yeah, I'd have kids tomorrow. And me and Connor are the same. I'm like, me and you, bro. Like, we'll get the property first.
Yeah.
Chris and Corey can come down later, right? But yeah, I'm ready to get this thing started. And so now you're starting to think like, okay, well, man, if we had to get to know each other and then of course we can FaceTime and this and that, but then we'd have to spend some time together. Okay, so what do? I take an entire week to travel over to Australia, then we hang out, right? Oh, we're two different. So there's these parts of me in terms of reality as well, where when I was 20, I would be like, yeah, no, totally, this would 100% work. Now being older, it's like, oh, no, the reality really is, I don't live up there anymore. I live a little bit more grounded. Doesn't mean that I don't believe that it can't be.
Yeah.
And there's some more groundedness to that. So I get excited. I told her the other night, and I was like, I have a crush on you.
It is a country crush.
100%. I've found it to be, one of my friends very early on, she's female, so I got a crush on you. Like, and she wouldn't mind if I said who is my friend Melissa. And she was like, oh yeah, I got a crush on you. And I just thought it was so cool that she was just like, yeah, I'm just going to let you know I have a crush. It's not like I'm going to be making out with you tomorrow. But she has no problem being like, no, I think you're amazing. And here are all the reasons why I think you're amazing.
Wow.
Now, and she's dated other people since then. And she said that she had a crush on me. And that's something I really took from Melissa is like, yeah, if you have a crush on somebody, you can just be like, hey, I got a crush on you. Doesn't mean like, oh, here's this pressure and I want to date you and it has to be this. No, it's like, hey, I got a crush on you.
Yeah.
And that's what I told her. I was just like, yeah, like I told my friends I have a crush on you. And that was very warming to her heart, particularly being back, in Australia.
Yeah, the come
really
down from the travel.
The come down, right? And she's not feeling like she's supposed to be there and she's having some kind of, friction with work and just really struggling to like get back on, the circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
And to be able to get that, like, hey, there's a man out there who thinks you're really neat and has a crush on you.
That's really beautiful because, and we've talked about this in past episodes, about the net benefit from interacting with people, even if it doesn't evolve into a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't think we've touched on is the importance of men and women communicating what they really appreciate about somebody early on.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, especially men, they receive less compliments than women by and large in general, not just from the other gender, but from society. And I think we underestimate how nice it is. Like, think about it. If you're getting after it in a workout in the CrossFit gym, and especially when you're with these young bucks, because you're always trying to show them who's boss, and they're like, dude, that fired me up. You did a great job. Or like, those cleans are like really impressive. Right. You're like, oh shit, thanks, man. Like, makes your day.
Yeah.
And I think that's the equivalent there. Obviously, there's a point where you can get too far, where it's like
Mhm.
creepy or unsolicited. But when you say I have a crush on you, that's a compliment because you're talking about the whole person, the whole persona.
Yeah.
And the other way around, I think it means a lot too when women let men know what they value about them, because we don't hear that very much. It's a really beautiful thing. So I'm glad that you have that. Obviously, like you said, logistically, there's this pragmatic side of you. It's like, when the hell am I going to get to Australia? How do we? Because even if you have a good connection, and I'm glad that you have it,
Yeah.
and then probably will continue to have lots of conversations, there's something about in person that gives you a better discernment or indication if you should pursue an actual, exclusive long-term relationship with somebody. So if you continue to talk, I think your intuition and your gut and your heart in combination, the three of those, will let you know if it's worth making that trip. But you ultimately won't know unless you continue to have conversation. You're compelled to take that risk. So even though you're grounded, if you want to experiment with that, you're going to have to take that at some point. So I guess the process right now is figuring out how long or how close do you get over communicating, how well do you get to know them before you would make that investment of time and money and also risk.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, there's energy going towards her, and then there's also, women that are in my life who I can be putting energy into. And so it's one of those things where, of course, I'm seeking and looking for a wife. So I want to connect with someone. I'm not out to be able to go, oh man, I want to have all these different connections. It's so fun and exciting, and let's go get drinks and you do those things. I'm like,
you're being precise.
I want to tether my heart to yours. And I'm going through this filtration process to be able to go, okay, well, am I going to start giving my heart to this person? Am I going to start like actually pursuing this woman? And so it's definitely, with it being relatively new, it's definitely something that's top of mind.
So tell us about some of these other connections. I want to know both about, you mentioned, and I don't know that we've talked about it.
Yeah.
The women that you're meeting in real life that you're interacting with. So it sounds like we have three pools, right? There's a couple women on Hinge.
Yeah.
There's international women.
Yeah.
And then there's some women in real life that you haven't matched with on the apps. So let's visit those two sectors, Hinge and the women that you're just kind of like meeting organically in the wild, as I like to call it. Because I don't think, like, I really want to paint the picture of what's the balance here and how are you figuring out how to invest your time and still date intentionally.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll start with Hinge because I'm a little bit more nervous talking about the one that's in real life, and I'll tell you why here. So on the Hinge side of things, one of the things that we were talking about last episode was how many people to actually have in my inbox chatting to. And one of the things I was talking about is being able to only have 2 or 3 and only be talking to 2 or 3 at a time. Now, I've been traveling a bunch and also talking to the awesome Aussie, and that has taken my attention away from like constantly being in the app.
Yeah.
Now, as my brother and I were driving back from Vegas to Austin in the 1985, you saw it. You know how sexy this truck is.
It's a cool truck.
It's a cool truck.
Vintage.
And that's a great way to put it. In this vintage truck, I handed him my phone and said, hey, you know me really well. Start scrolling through.
No way.
And he ended
up. Good move.
What's interesting is he ended up picking a woman who I initially bypassed on. And she's a beautiful woman, long brown hair, beautiful like olive skin, brown eyes, slender athletic body. She has a picture of her like holding a horse. She talks about God and so on and so forth. I believe the thing that I passed on was, and I can actually, it was, what'd she say? You love God and sacred plant medicine. You enjoy your life, love camping, fishing, live music, growth oriented. You're a gentleman, provider, respectful, fun, funny, adventurous, high integrity, and extrovert.
All of that sounds like you except for the plant medicine.
That's it. And I believe that was my initial pullback, right? And where I was just like, I don't know. But all the other things that are on here, I'm like, oh wow, like she's
Mm-hmm.
really a, a hit, and I'm glad that Ben clicked and picked on her
Mm-hmm.
again. And she had there's like a buffer message you can have before you
Oh yeah,
connect,
yeah.
and
Like it automatically sends it
yeah,
out
yeah,
once you match. Yeah.
and her thing was like, what's one thing that you're joyful in your life, or things that you're joyful in your life. And so I responded to that, and I asked her, hey, what's a micro joy in your life? What's like the smallest thing you could celebrate?
Hmm.
And haven't heard back from her.
Hmm.
And so,
And how many days ago was that now?
ooh, maybe only like 4 or 5 days.
Hmm.
Um, and I wonder. I go back to this whole thing of like me getting all of these like inbounds and understanding how much it feel like. And of course, if she's an introvert, getting a ton of inbounds might feel very overwhelming for her, and she might want to back off.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is one of the ones where, you've talked about, I don't know if you talk about it in the book or not, but like following back up, like
Yeah.
looping back around and going like, hey, let me extend one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Did we talk about that in a previous episode?
you must have, because I'm remembering it.
Yeah. Yeah. I call it the two-timer rule. And it's this idea that you should not be presumptuous because life is busy. People might be overwhelmed.
Right.
Their dad, like yours, could be, paralyzed in a skiing accident. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. So don't assume because they don't get back back to you, especially on the apps. Text is a little different, but especially on the apps within 7 to 10 days, like that's completely normal. So normalize that it might not have anything to do with you and just be patient. And then after 7 to 10 days, follow-up message and be like, hey, I'm not sure what you've been up to, but I'd be remiss if I didn't follow up with you because I'm really interested to see if we have an opportunity to get to know each other, whatever it is. It sounds a little sterile. It can be fun, whatever, but just like a message that conveys you still would love to hear from them, but it's not saying I'm mad at you for not following up with me, because that's a turnoff. And you don't want to be presumptuous. And it's the reason it's called the two-timer is you follow up twice. So it's like your initial message 4 to 5 days ago, wait a few days, 7 to 10 days later, you send that message I just talked about. Then again, you wait another 7 to 10 days and send a similar message. But after that, if you haven't heard from them, cut your losses.
Gotcha.
And it could take longer, right? But it's this middle ground where you are being really, what's the word that I want to look for? Not vehement, you're diligent and following up and not compromising on being presumptuous.
Right.
But there's a boundary where you're like, you know what? I know this expression is taken out of context a lot, but if they wanted to, they would. Generally, I think 14 to 20 days after your initial contact, if there's someone that, if like a core element is communication, which it is for most people, they probably would have let you know if they were interested.
Right.
Again, there's extenuating circumstances, but you got to draw a boundary somewhere. And so for me, that's a good one where it's enough time, but not too much. Enough time to give them grace, but not too much time that you're like, okay, is this really fair to me? So, and that's just what works for me. I think people should develop their own sequence, but that worked really well because I didn't worry about it. I'm like, my expectation is I hope to hear from them within 20 days. So it's like, all right, I sent this message. It's off in the ether. It's not my job anymore as a man to worry about whether or not I hear back. My job is to offer an invitation, to offer initiation, and then see how she responds. But then after 20 days, I'm like, all right, if we've matched, I would unmatch them. Just to like you said, I have my limit.
Yeah.
I want to date intentionally. It's like, all right, you're no longer a possibility. I don't know why. I'm not going to wonder why. And I'm not going to blame you either. I'm just going to snip it off and and trim the fat away so I can focus on other opportunities, because timing is everything. So even if there were potential, if the timing's not right, I would rather get to know somebody where the timing is right, because timing will always trump everything else that's going on, even if you have compatibility or common interests or whatever. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I'm interested on the communication side of this. I agree with that rule, and I'm definitely going to follow up with her. And I have with a few others as well. I've also found that writing basically almost like, I don't know, 3 to 5 lines, but being very transparent. And like on the second message, like, hey, look, this is what I'm seeking for, and this is what I'm looking for. And looking through your profile, that really matched up. And you said these certain things that really I'm also looking for. And there's something that you saw and we matched for a reason. But if this is no longer an option, you know, or I'm not saying that but a more like upfront kind of thing. Like, this is what I'm looking for. And if that's what you're looking for, let me extend that. Because initially it was a softer kind of invitation.
Yeah.
But following up with a little bit firmer of an invitation of going, like, here's what I like about you. Here's what I see. And here's where I feel like we can connect. And I'm going to extend this as a firmer kind of invitation instead of like a softer or more playful kind of invitation. What do you think about that?
I really like that. And I think it's more of a style preference.
Gotcha.
So what you said, it was not general advice I give, but for you, that sounds great. And I think that's the whole point of this. And we keep saying it, but it's worth saying again, is like, make these principles, these rules, these guidelines, make them your own. So it's like the two-timer, the essence of it isn't that what you need to say. It's that you follow up twice and you're not not assuming anything about the other person. But I like what you said because it fits who you are. And so if they don't respond well to that, great. It's a natural filtration system. And we have so many of those already, but you have so much in terms of options and so little time that that's going to benefit you and her.
Yeah.
But if that's who you are, then she'll be like, oh, I really like that this is how he followed up. And it just, you know, is another thing to account for compatibility, in my opinion. So I think that's exactly how you should do it.
Yeah.
But I think for people listening, whether it's how I suggested it, how you suggested it, or somewhere in between or outside of those, they should feel like, okay, what really represents me? Or how would I wish someone, like, how would I want them to respond if I said exactly what I meant?
Yeah.
And let that be, again, the filtration. And so, but I think that's exactly what you should do. And then we can come back and talk about it and see if she responded at all, or maybe she was like, hey, because some girls will get, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but if you push a little more, because they don't really know you, they're like, I'm out. And other girls will be like, oh, this is different than most guys. I like that he was direct and he was not forceful, but like more firm.
Yeah.
And so if they respond well to that, that's you.
Right.
So it's, I mean, I guess I'm a little redundant. I'm saying it different ways, but like, ultimately, despite me being really verbose about it, you should just say what you feel in the most concise manner possible and see how they respond.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and taking in the information too, like she's 34. I'm looking for my husband, best friend, and person that adds value and peace to my life, and all add the same to theirs.
I love that.
Yeah, no,
she's perfect for wife or bus.
She's perfect for husband.
And what she's looking for. Yeah, husband or bus. Our sister company.
Our sister company coming to you soon. And so taking those kind of like inputs in of like what she's looking for and what she's seeking, that's where I think like, hey, let me show you're looking for a husband, you're looking for a best, you're looking, okay, well then let me show you, right, how I would lead. Let me show you, right, this little, this more firm approach and extension, where it would be different if like some other women on the profile aren't showing me that information.
Yes.
You know, it's more kind of like light and playful. And it's like, okay, I may turn it a little bit, and my second follow-up might be something that's more light or fun before the two-timer. If I got to the two-timer with a fun one, I would hit the like very firm, like straight to the point, like, hey, this is my last time following up, kind of deal.
Yeah. I even said that in a lot of, back when I was single and on Hinge a lot too, is like I said, hey, just so you know, and I don't like seeing the balls in your court. I don't think it's a very masculine thing to do, but I would say, hey, this is the last time I'm gonna follow up. I would really like, no harm, no foul, but I'd really love an opportunity to get to know you. But I also understand if you're not interested or it's not, the timing's not right. So it's a little more firm, or maybe even definitive is a better word.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, hey, I followed up. This is my initial thing. I followed up. Now I'm letting you know. Take it or leave it. Do you want to risk getting to know me or not? And it is a risk for them, you know, and I acknowledge that. But I like where your head's at for that. I also really like that you gave it to your brother, which isn't your blood brother, but he's your brother in all intents and purposes. So he probably knows you better than anybody else. And so the prime authority to make a decision on whether or not you might get along with a woman. And women, so guys don't do that very often. Maybe they'll give it to their, like a gal pal of theirs. I've heard of that. I don't really think that's a good idea. But girls will do this all the time. They will manage a whole Hinge account for their friend, which I think is not, Your brother taking a quick look, no big deal. Anybody taking a look at their friend's profile and be like, oh, you might get along with them, no big deal. But when you completely outsource that, which you didn't do, but I've heard stories and it blows my mind. I think that's a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
Because even if they know you well, subconsciously, there are filters and biases that they are applying to your profile. But okay, outside of this woman that you hope to hear back from, there's no other Hinge activity or Hinge dates set up.
No, not yet. There's a girl who also that my brother picked, who did get back to me, and we'll get along if you enjoy spontaneous road trips with full karaoke concerts, early morning Barton jumps with good coffee stops to follow.
Ooh.
So when I heard that, I said to him, to my brother, I said, okay, send this message, like that prompt and send this message. What's the song? What time?
Hi, Bart.
What time? And what coffee?
You're so good.
And she came back and she gave me a song, Goo Goo Dolls. She said 6:45 a.m. And she said, oh man, what was the coffee shop? I actually went to it because I ended up going to Barton Springs.
At 6:45 to see if she was there.
Well, I did go at 7, I think.
Yeah.
Because I woke up late one day and I was just like, actually, I haven't done this. And now I have my truck and it's an easy way to be able to get to Barton. And it's free before, I think, 8 o'clock or something. And so I just went and jumped in. I was telling you guys about how I was like, oh, I was going to take an off day. And then I'm like swimming laps, right? Burning my lungs out. I'm like, I'm going to take it really easy. And then I went to the coffee spot that she went to. So there was actually some data to be able to bring back to her of like, hey, was at the Springs. That was a good call. And I went to the coffee shop. Coffee was okay.
Nice.
Let me bring you to a different spot.
Ooh. So have you sent her that message yet?
I have not.
And did she ask you anything or so you asked her these 3 questions. She answered these 3.
She did.
Did she ask you anything? Or did she just answer it and leave it? Because that happens sometimes.
Yeah, no. She answered and asked me questions like, "Oh, what's your karaoke song?"
Okay, so she's engaged, she's engaging.
Yeah,
she's meeting you halfway for that discovery process. Cool
for her. Yeah, and very interesting. Her, I saw that she was she's a singer at a church, and so God is a big part of her life, which is awesome. She also had a picture of her, and it seemed like her dad. On the Ladybird Trail, big smiles and so on and so forth.
Oh, that's
good connection with dad is always a really healthy thing to see, particularly from women. And so I'm excited about those 2. There's a lingering one that we connected maybe a month ago. I showed you a picture of her. You knew her, and I asked you like, hey, yes or no, right, up or down, and you didn't have enough data to give me the up or down, which I expected of you. There's a reason there's going to be 500 people at your birthday party coming up. Should we invite everybody?
No, let's not say that. It's not that many. It's like a fifth of that, at least.
It's a quarter of that. You guys, it'll be.
It's not about volume. It's about depth and volume. I just love people, man, and I love people that I love being under the same roof. I'm such a sucker for that.
Yeah.
But so that one has just like, where has it fizzled? What happened with that one?
We ended up saying, I said, hey, well, why don't we jump on a call? She's like, yeah, that sounds great, but didn't follow up with her number. I'm like, okay, so you want me to ask again? And then I said, hey, well, what about Tuesday? Why don't we try to connect Tuesday? Nothing. And that was last week.
And still haven't heard anything.
No.
So opportunity for another 2-timer. Experiment with that a little bit.
Well, and she's done this kind of like week at a time. And to give you like an example, she ended up saying like, hey, my sister had a baby and, I've been, busy taking care of her and this and that. And so I think there's other things that are going on in her life, which I'm totally cool with.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, great. You're not constantly head deep into Hinge. That's fine with me. Right. Because that's me too as well. So yes, I believe it's going to be worth it, 2-timer. And I do believe a kind of, take out kind of, a more like, hey, here's the line. Are you going to jump over or not?
Yeah.
And it's cool if you don't. And if it's like, obviously there's not something that you're like, you kind of clicked on me. Oh, you like my cowboy picture, right? You know, women love that cowboy picture. You know, that's
Save a horse riding cowboy.
Yeah.
So we have the awesome Aussie. We have 3 Hinge matches.
Correct.
Where we're going to see how they go.
That's right.
And then we have IRL, in real life / I like to call it the wild because it's the jungle.
The wild.
The wild. In the wild, how many interests or conversations or women are you have like captured your attention, or you have some sort of conversation going on?
I've won, and it's been one that has been on my radar literally since I've gotten to Austin, and I've hung out with her a bunch of different times. We've done like physical activities. We've hung out and gotten dinner before. We've like she's come over to my house, like, and there was I believe I've told you about her of like, you know, she just seems a little bit younger, and maybe she's not quite there, and yet she has all, like, checks all the boxes. I mean, you know, Christian, and fitness is huge, and no seed oils, and like just wants to live on a farm, and like, and I'm asking all these questions throughout this past year of kind of like just curiosity. And every time I would ask her a question, I'd ask her like, well, what would your house look like? You know, like, tell me what your perfect house would be. And she'd be like, oh, it's like this, and it's a farm style house, and it's like that. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'd want my house to be. Okay, cool. And my brother always joked around with me and said, oh, you know, the girl you're going to find, dude, is going to be really good at baking. And you know what she's going to love to bake? Cinnamon rolls. That's going to be your thing, dude.
That's just, do you love cinnamon rolls, or why did he say this?
You know, I'm trying
Or he just says some wild shit that happens to be true for you.
His wife cooks some bakes incredible.
So he's projecting.
I should say he for sure is projecting.
He's like, I want you to be like me, Joel.
100%. But I also had a story that I wrote of, you know, future casting and what it was going to be like with my wife, and Ben was there, and there was cinnamon rolls in the story. So I believe this is one of the reasons he takes that. And so
yeah,
I was sitting there one day and I was talking to her, and I said, you know, she cooks and she bakes, really good cook and bake and baker. And I said, well, like, what's your favorite thing to cook? She's like, well, I wouldn't say cook, actually bake. And I was like, oh, what's your favorite thing to bake? And she was like, oh, cinnamon rolls for sure.
Gosh. Synonym rolls, just like Grammar used to make.
Grammar's big.
Oh, dang.
And so this is one that a little bit of the twist here is that she's a client of mine. And this is something that's why I said I'm a little nervous talking about it. You know, due to the fact that, well, I'm her coach, and I'm sure there's been so many other people in a scenario or situation like this where it's like, there seems like there's a little bit of a barrier there. And I take my profession very seriously, and look at it and go, man, and it was something where I honestly didn't think that she would become a client. She did. And so now it's like this, oh, you know what? This walking through this or putting this on pause to allow me to be a coach and nothing else, before I would even extend to say like, hey, I have a crush on you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because she may not. It may not be something that she has a crush on me. And to be able to do that inside of a coaching program, it wouldn't be the timing. And so it's one of those things where, yet as I continue to get to know her more and more, like, this is also a filtration system, particularly in terms of what I do in my coaching. And so, it's been quite interesting.
That's interesting, and not something that, as we were talking about these romantic prospects or opportunities, not that something that I was expecting, probably a lot of people listening weren't expecting. And there's a very obvious thing that comes to mind, which is when you are in not only a professional setting, but also like a a hierarchy of power that's not just social and how you know someone or a community, when like a, you know, business or anything like that, like generally frowned upon, right? To date the people not necessarily beneath you, but like the people that you are serving or like chain of command stuff. Which I totally understand, but I like what you said, because you're out there, you're dating, you've in the last few months that we've been doing this, you've come a really far way, which you had a really good baseline in terms of self-awareness, what you wanted, but you just understand the process of dating in the modern world so much better. So who knows, by the time she finishes her program with you, how much she might grow, which might help fill the gap in age, right? Because age isn't everything. It's more about experience and life outlook, which may be why you're drawn to her already. Maybe she's atypical for a woman her age. And who knows, with her coaching experience with you, how much more she'll grow. Yeah, you'll know her better. But then you can revisit this at the end of that. So it is, I think it's good to almost have this restriction, this time restriction and this timeline. And then we can see how like the other, you know, who knows who might come in or out of your life in the meantime while you're coaching her. So I like though that you drew a limit there. And like an honorable boundary that you're not going to cross. But that's going to be very interesting to hear how that pans out. Like maybe you just have a ton of respect for her and admire so much as a person, but you're like, yeah, I'm not interested in that way. Or maybe it'll like whatever you're feeling now will multiply after working together in that capacity. So interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly has been interesting. And there's, I also look at it and it's like, you know, this is that fine balance, you know, that can be tough. Like we all say, oh, I'm looking for my best friend. Well, to be able to find your best friend, you just spend time with that person, right? And I don't know if this is just God's like purpose or plan, but like these restrictions around it, and yet still like wanting to hang out. You know? Like from both of us, we both want to hang out, right? I got an invitation from her just a day to go out and do something. And I was like, oh, sorry, we're filming Wife or Bust.
Priorities.
Priorities. Yep. And and I gave her, you know, invitations to hang out later in the week too. And so it's like, you know, by just framing this a little bit more in my mind of being able to go, all right, let's give it time. Let's give it the 3 months in which my course is. And maybe this is a great way to be able to get to know somebody that I really enjoy being around and have a lot of respect and obviously attracted to, that just give it a little time to be able to allow this to slowly fold out.
Yeah. There's something that comes to mind about, this is a rather crass expression, but I think it describes things quite well. You have to be careful if you shit where you eat. And it's this idea that whether it's within a close friend group circle, maybe a professional setting, maybe a broader community or whatnot, and there's pros and cons to this. If there's someone that you're working with or is close to you in some way, it's likely that there's a lot of values that align, and it's nice to have a common circle. Right. So it takes a lot of the filters out of it because you're already there. You already know this about somebody, and that's the pro. The con is if you go to a certain extent trying to get to know someone and it doesn't go well, there could be fallout.
Right.
So again, the con isn't really that con if you think about it, because it's almost accountability, and we could all in the dating world have more accountability to hold us to high integrity. So that's not a net negative thing.
Right.
But then again, sometimes it's nice to have, I don't want to say free reign, but like the ability to get to know someone without it impacting your social structures that you rely on. Right. And so I tend to be one where I'd like to meet someone new. So the last time that I went through a breakup before I started dating Mallory, who's lovely, I did not know, Mallory and I had very few mutual friends, if any. Like we might have known some of the same people, but nobody important to us had any overlap, not even 1 degree removed.
Yeah.
And prior to that, when I was looking for someone, I just said, you know what, I'm friends with all these people. I'm friends with all these circles. I love my life. I do not want to compromise any of these social circles, any of these activities, even if it's not like a close group of friends. It's like a casual group that plays volleyball or does this or that together. It's like, and also I wouldn't be personally, a lot of guys do this, unfortunately. I don't like to have women in my social circles that I'd be interested in if who I'm with doesn't work out. But that's a very common thing for women and men. They surround themselves with options in case this falls through. And I think that's a really big scarcity mindset. I'm more of the abundance mindset. It's like, all these people are my friends, but I have this romantic interest. If this doesn't pan out, I go back to square one and I find someone else and I bring them into my life. And they bring me into theirs, right? It's not one-sided. But sometimes relationships, especially with, people who get married, they do know each other for a long time. They do have an overlapping friend group. So I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's more about people need to ask themselves what their preference is, or like where are they at in life? Which one of these modes best suits what they're looking for? You know,
so there's a risk and reward there. It happens in a lot of CrossFit affiliates. Being a coach of affiliates, like the risk and reward. There are some people who get married, right? They went to the affiliate, and they met their wives and husbands in a CrossFit affiliate. Yeah. And then there's also been affiliates that have been completely torn apart due to the fact that, oh, wait a second, you're actually starting to fall in love with a coach who's married. And then they get together and there becomes this huge like fallout. So you're talking about like, don't eat where you take a dump. Social repercussions essentially, or like community repercussions. For sure. And it's funny when you were saying that, because I'm like, well, yeah, of course you have a bazillion like friend circles. I'm like, I have 3 dudes I want to hang out with here.
And that's a good point, because some people might have a close inner circle or that's it, where other people have really broad circles. And I think the broader your circle, the less risk there is but like I'm for me personally, like inner circle, I would never do that. But some people, again, it happens. So it's not one of those things I think we can definitively say one way or the other, but I think really what it is thinking through it, being sure that you have the forethought to say, okay, as I might entertain getting to know this person, am I willing, am I excited enough to get to know them and experiment with a relationship 100%. To risk X, Y, and Z? 100%. So we went through a lot of, I guess, the different prospects, the different opportunities, and there are 3 different realms, which I was not expecting going into this. So I guess, I don't know, you tell me what's next, but it seems like we're just going to see how these things play out. I'm very excited to see if you end up booking a ticket to Australia. I'm also really excited to see if the 2-timer rule, or rather principle, works or doesn't work. Well, I guess it works either way, because you either get closure or you get a date. But I'm curious to see how those pan out. And then what's the timeline on this IRL or the wild situation? Is it like a few months before you guys finish your coaching? How does that work? Yeah, it would be November. Okay. So that one, we're going to revisit it, but that one's going to be a slower burn. Yeah. Oh, maybe October, somewhere around there. It's going to be a slower burn. So this will be a character that will continue. It'll come up. Yeah, down the road. And I'm also going to follow up with the coffee, the Barton Springs and coffee. Yeah. So coming back, there'll be a date and by the next one for sure. And we'll find out whether the 2-time rule works, and whether I'm going to Australia or maybe book her a flight here. Ooh. Be better That's true. If she came here, because then I don't have to adjust my sleep. And that is why men who are creatures of routine will always want things to come to them. Well, I think that about wraps it up. We got a lot to look forward to. So tune in next episode. We'll get some progress on this stuff. Place your bets. My bet is that Joel's going to Australia. Ooh. What's you think that you're going to get her to come here? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I'm ready. All right. See y'all next time.